8 o'clock blue. 12 o'clock white.
I haven't got a pension at all, never will have.
Like some of us have got all that. Just sneaking in there. Yeah.
10 o'clock white. 4 o'clock blue. A nice one. 9 o'clock blue. 10 o'clock red. 6 o'clock red. 10 o'clock red blue. I'm a spotter for a visually impaired archer, and the main job of the spotter is safety. Safety for themselves, for the archers and for everybody else. You're one of a dozen pair of eyes on the field. That's the first criteria. Now, if they're shooting in competition, the spotter is only allowed to tell the archer where the arrow goes using clock face, 9 o'clock blue, 10 o'clock red, whatever. While they're starting, before the competition begins, then the spotter can help to alter the equipment if it's not quite right. But that's their basic. That's basically what they're there for, to watch out and just to make sure that the arrow sits on the arrow rest in the right place. And obviously, if they see something's happening, the arrow's not quite right, then they check it, but that's it. Do the scoring for the archer. The archer may well walk up to the target with them, but they will score for them and generally act as another pair of eyes, but safety is the main thing. With some of them, when they first go blind, it does take quite a while for it to sink in. And some of the bluff and that is that because inside they're frightened. They're putting on a face. And that's to sort of protect themselves. And you can understand that. We just talk to them as ever. We don't ask questions about what's wrong with them. If they want to tell us, absolutely fine. We are particularly aware of watching for people because particularly diabetes goes hand in hand with sight loss. One of the problems with spotting and telling somebody, say 9 o'clock black, which is a little bit on the outside, the next one will probably go 3 o'clock white because the archer has made a physical adjustment, but also an adjustment occurs in the head. The foot locators are placed on the shooting line so that when the archer is standing on the shooting line, she's in the correct position in relation to where the target goes. And then in the front is a tripod, camera tripod with an adapted head, and that takes what we call a tactile sight, which is basically a pointer or a ball or a barrel that just touches the back of the archer's hand that holds the bow, and that is for height. And that's all it's for. The actual technique of shooting is like any other archer. With some who've never tried it before, it's a challenge. And you must bear in mind that the people we deal with here are military, and they will have a go at most things. And the great thing about it is, apart from the extra equipment and possibly a spotter, they're doing something for themselves. We treat them as archers first, then blind.
I was in the Royal Navy I was a marine engineer. I did my apprenticeship in the Royal Navy. I signed on for 22 years, but unfortunately, after 4 years, a cartilage operation didn't go right, and I was to leave. When I came out of a coma and I'd lost my sight, I had just returned from refereeing the World Underwater Hockey Championships. I was a world referee. And I thought, my life's over. What can blind people do? How can they do sport? Because sport was the biggest part of my life. I loved my work, but I loved my sport. And I just didn't know what was going to happen. And then I came down here to what was then called St Dunstan's, now Blind Veterans, the charity for ex-servicemen and women who've lost their sight. And I tried other blind sports, acoustic rifle shooting, indoor bowls, but it didn't give me a buzz. But as soon as I picked up a bow, that was it. I was sold. And since then, it took over my life, both the sport, to a very high level. I've shot for Great Britain.
To all you St Dunstaners, I say, stick to your guns, hang on to your defences, repulse this spiritual foe when he attacks you with gloom and misgivings. Attack him with persistent courage and cheerful determination, and down him as you and those who fought with you down the physical foe whom you have vanquished.
I was in the army for 30 years. I served in the UK, in Germany, in Northern Ireland, First Gulf War. I played a lot of sport before I went blind, and I wanted to play a sport where I would be on equal terms with sighted people, and archery gives me that. It's the camaraderie, it's the fun, it's being able to test yourself against yourself, because the only person you're shooting against is yourself. You're trying to beat your best scores. That's why I do it. When I first went blind, people would come up to my wife, and I'm stood next to her, and they would say, "And how's Paul?" And I'm stood there, and you're looking around going, what? You become invisible when you're blind. You can be walking along with your cane, and people will just walk straight into you. And people are frightened of talking to you, in case they say something that they believe is non-PC. And I can tell you now, blind people are not PC about their own blindness. We make jokes about it.
Just as when you were in the war you fought gallantly until you could fight no more, so I am sure you will as gallantly continue the fight against the new enemy who has assailed you. Blindness must be conquered by the St Dunstaner.